I'm getting more and more offline. Um, to admit to that, but like lots of things annoy me, and
You don't
the
say.
more things annoy me, the less I want to see them. So I'm just like fading and fading and fading off of everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, hey, what's up? It's the Dinner Roadshow, episode 102. We have a lot of stuff that we didn't finish in the last episode. I've watched a ton of movies, so I want to talk about those a little bit. But first, time for Little Mountains of Madness. Where's my button?
Mountains of Madness.
Because you had to deal with a little bit of my shenanigans whenever I was sending you notes and then remaking notes and all that kind of shit. But I briefly tried to get rid of some Google services because I was like, well, you're pissing me off, so I want to get rid of you. Didn't work. I kind of couldn't do it. It was sort of a foolish endeavor because I do in fact have a Google phone.
Yeah.
So, but I just had like this like manic night where I'm like, why am I paying you $20 a year? Why am I doing that? And the answer is that Google Docs are very convenient. Turns out to be the answer to that. Can I get rid of Adobe? So I don't know how aware of what they've been doing you are, because
Not at all.
yeah, because you're not shackled to a stupidly expensive subscription for essential business functions.
I mean, my job only hands out their premium subscription employees, and I'm not one of them. So I'm assuming it's quite overpriced.
It's insane. So I was technically still using a education discount, not through me, but through my mom, who is a preschool teacher,
Right.
who technically doesn't really need the Creative Suite, but sometimes she does. But that's how we got the pricing, because the pricing is outrageous. And it's still, well, it started out for the education thing, $20 a month.
Whoa, that's a discount?
That was the discount.
How much is it normally?
I think 50.
Wow.
50 a month. Then that $20 at some point changed into 30. So we were paying $30 a month. And this does get you all of the, this is Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere, After Effects, Audition, which is what I was using to record and edit the podcast. But even so, that's a lot of fucking money.
Also, you've spoiled the end.
Did I, what?
Well, you're no longer on Audition, so I can see where this is going.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. You gotta let me tell a story.
I know. I'm sorry.
So, but it has all those, but it's fucking expensive as hell. And I had tried to move away from this shit previously because the price was just insane. And there are lots of alternatives for like video editing, which I'm not very good at anyway, and I fucking hate Premiere, and I never really learned it properly. So that wasn't too bad, right? I could ditch Premiere in a second. After Effects, I'm terrible with that too, so that's not a big deal. Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, little tricky, but then you've got the Affinity apps, and so I bought those a few years ago, and the transition's okay. But the thing that really holding me back was the fact that I was using Audition for the podcasts and working shortcuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I only needed one row of an MMO mouse for it, but I was still using it that way. And it made things a little faster. Shackled to the, to the Adobe shit.
And you can't purchase any of the individual programs?
You can, but they're prohibitively expensive.
Oh.
So if you can do everything you need to do in Photoshop, right? That's $15 a month.
Oh, that's really not even any. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point, it's like, if you're a creative and at this point you if you're creative, you need to be like multidisciplinary at this point. You're paying for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks. But then the Affinity apps, on the other hand, you just buy the software and then you have it. And you get updates until their next big title update. Like how software used to be purchased, you know?
Yeah, that is a bit old school. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and they basically function exactly the same way for, you know, Photoshop, Illustrator, and their InDesign version, right? They have Affinity Photo, Affinity Draw, whatever the Illustrator one is, and Affinity Publisher. And they also open all of the Adobe proprietary file types. So Photoshop documents will open, Illustrator files will open, and most importantly for me, InDesign documents will open, because that's what all my fucking book layouts are in that I already have. So that transition is really nice and easy. The thing that really pushed me to just like sit down and actually do this was, again, the price. But then Adobe was doing shit with, of course, AI. They changed their terms of service to say that they owned everybody's work that was done in the programs. They had wholesale right to do whatever they wanted with everybody's work if it was made using one of their applications.
Was that not always the case?
No, of course not.
That's a massive change.
Yeah. And so not even just like, this is actually crazier than just like using it for AI training. They just said that they owned it.
Yeah.
Like outright. They had like it was non-exclusive rights to anything made using their applications.
And
fucking insane.
And so the scope of this is what, like most people making art digitally are probably using this platform, right?
Yeah. Illustrator, people on Premiere, which is an industry standard video editor, like,
wow.
Yeah. Outcry because of this, because people were just basically assuming that this was to train their AI. I was like, well, this is obviously for AI, but also, like, if Adobe's saying they have the rights to something that you make in this, then that means they also can sell it, you know. They can do whatever they want with it.
I am outraged. I'm sure there was plenty of outrage when this news first came out, but I'm hearing it now, and I'm outraged.
Right. Yeah.
My goodness.
So they quickly said, they came out and said, no, that's not what we mean. That's not what we mean. It's like, okay, well then why did you change it to that? Why have the terms of the deal suddenly changed? You know? No, this only applies if you use our AI, their Firefly generative AI shit, and we don't use any of our subscribers' data to train the AI. It's all using royalty-free stuff. Then this brought up a whole thing about how they sourced their royalty-free stuff. So Adobe owns Adobe stock, which is not their monetary stock, but they have a platform for stock images and assets. And what they did was they courted creatives to make stock photos and artwork to sell on their marketplace. And so people did that in order for them to, you know, make some money making stock artwork and photos. Then Adobe said that, oh, well, we can just use that for our AI now because you made these, you know, commercially licensable and you gave them to us. And so we're going to use those to train our AI to make stock images and basically get rid of you that was providing us with material and also creating material for this platform. So there's really a million layers to this depravity.
Yeah.
Of where they're just like fucking over creatives. Then here's the really sick thing that they do, which is why they're currently being sued by the FTC. So, say that you're sick of all this, like I was. Say you want to cancel, right? So you're paying maybe $30 a month if you sneak into the education discount, right? You're paying even more if you don't. So say you want out, you've had enough. You go to try to cancel. And they're like, "Okay, yep, you can cancel anytime. That's fine." You go to cancel, and then all of a sudden you're hit with a several $100 bill, a cancellation fee.
No way.
Yep. Is that you have a yearly contract with Adobe, but you're paying monthly. They consider you canceling the terms of the deal, and you owe 50% of whatever the remaining part of your contract is.
Yo.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why they're currently getting sued by the government. And this has been going on for years. Most people don't know about it because they're stuck using it, and so they're stuck paying it. They make it impossible to find. They also change when your year is. I assume that my year is in December because that's the last time I have payment records. Because they hide your payment records. They say they don't keep them past 3 years. So I only have records going back to 2021, when I've been using Adobe products since college.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a subscription since college, but I have no record of that. So I don't know when my year begins, and my year might have changed whenever they changed the price on me. So it's basically impossible to know when your year is up. And even if you do know, you have a very limited window of when you can cancel and not pay this cancellation fee.
It would be when? Within the last month of the year?
No, it's a span of like days, actually.
Oh, wow. Is there an option to be like, just let me pay monthly until the year ends?
I mean, yeah, but then you don't cancel.
Yeah.
Like, you're just doing that and then figuring out when your year is and then canceling it within a few days of your year being up before it renews for the year.
Like right now. Let's say right now you want to just cancel, have it not auto-renew after your quote-unquote year contract is up.
No.
No. Oh, this is so sketchy.
No. Yeah, no. So if you cancel, so here's the other thing. So if you cancel and say you have 6 months left of your year, you owe them money. You owe them 50% of the remaining year, and you don't get access to the remaining year of the app.
You're just out at that
You're
moment.
Just out.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
It's like impossible to get out of this.
Yep.
Wild.
Yeah. It's like a mobster racket. Yeah.
This is like worse than MoviePass.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
my
insane.
only other frame of reference for this type of scam.
Hey, with MoviePass, we saw a shitload of movies.
Oh, I don't mean to talk ill of MoviePass. I got my values worth about 150 times over, so...
I got a refund on that shit. I technically saw nothing but free movies that summer.
You got a full refund?
Yeah.
That's very funny. I mean, I think I had the subscription for like a solid calendar year. And, you know, while it was functional until they started doing their, like, you can only see this movie at this specific time of day at this location, or else there's like a surcharge or, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, because I was on that, like, Costco deal.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't get the product that I paid for at the end.
Right.
And so I could get a refund. It just took forever to fucking get a customer service rep because there was nobody working at the company anymore.
Yeah.
But then I did end up getting a refund.
That's very good.
Yeah.
It's really funny to me how, like, such a large portion of the population has seen, like, most of the movies that came out in theaters between, like, late 2017 and late 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Movies that they never would have watched otherwise.
Right. Yeah, it's very funny. So there is a way to sort of circumvent this bullshit. and it only works if you have like an expensive plan, which
I was gonna say
most people do.
cancel your credit card, but
Well, yeah, but that's such a fucking
it
hassle.
is. It is.
So what you have to do, and hopefully this is before they like close this up, but I don't know, they're getting sued currently, so maybe they won't close it up. Is you have to downgrade to like a single app plan, like you were kind of talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those are still wildly overpriced. So you downgrade to one of those. Adobe considers that you basically starting a new contract.
Oh.
And so then from that point, you downgrade to a lower tier. You have 14 days to cancel that. And then you're free.
That's very funny.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
Oh man. It's like I keep talking about it. I just feel like I'm just like outrunning the AI, just like but they're just like nipping at me from behind.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what this third point I have on here is. Oh yeah, okay. So I'm a little concerned about my digital hoarding.
Oh yeah, I was interested in this.
Yeah. So this kind of goes hand in hand with like how the structures of the internet are sort of collapsing and becoming like a singularity of really bad information, and websites are getting shut down, and the only people that seem to care is the Internet Archive and their one site, and they're currently getting sued by legacy publishers.
Didn't they just lose 500,000 books?
Yes, they did.
So
Yes, they did. And yeah, and I'm just one guy with a single server in my living room that is currently let's just say I had to tell my family that they had to stop requesting TV and movies because it's running out of space.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Do you have like a system that like deletes things after a while, or you just have it all?
Have it all.
Okay.
Sometimes somebody will say, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to watch that again," and I will swiftly delete it. Other than that, it's sort of all kept until I add in another hard drive.
We talking like 4K for the most part?
No.
Okay.
Only the stuff I watch is 4K. I have them set up for 1080p only.
I mean, that makes sense.
Sometimes lower because they don't know the difference. It's a mix of that, and then also like Nintendo is also going after ROM sites like really heavily right now, and like actually shutting down whole emulators.
Jeez.
And so I was like, well, I don't even play Nintendo games, but I was like, just to fucking spite them, I downloaded some batch files of, half a terabyte of basically any game that Nintendo has ever released. You could emulate the Switch on the fucking Steam Deck.
Oh, God.
And so before SMT5 even had like an inkling of a port, that's how I was trying to get 60 frames per second on that game, not on the Switch.
That's funny.
Was the emulation.
I mean, you can see why Nintendo's a little upset.
For the Switch, yeah. But for the stuff that they don't even sell anymore...
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Come on.
I know, I agree. The new stuff, fine. But, like you said, you can't even play most of their catalog of games. It's like whatever they allow you to, that they port over from old systems, and then they make you pay for them again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Each console generation, you have to pay for Super Mario Brothers every time.
Yes.
It's insane. And the rest of them are no better. Sony's no better at that.
True.
Thing is like disappearing. Like there's all these like sites where just like articles are just getting taken down, even though they take up no space in data centers to host. It's like just this week it was MTV News just obliterated their whole article archive.
This is why physical media is the future.
Yeah, and then Comedy Central just their whole video archive is just gone now too.
Well, where are we going to watch the Jesselnik offensive?
Exactly. The bigger one that people cared about was the Daily Show.
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't know who would really want to, because that's very topical. But sure, it's a historical relic.
Yeah.
You know.
For what? What is the point of like destroying all of this? I don't get it.
Do they have to keep paying like royalties to the Daily Show cast and crew?
Oh, I doubt it. Because that was sort of the last strike was about not getting royalties on online streaming. So
okay,
article archives that are 2 kilobytes per page view. Like, you're really telling me MTV News like had to get rid of all of their article archives? Like,
now does what's it called, the Wayback Machine? Does that still preserve a lot of this stuff?
only if somebody preserved it using the Wayback Machine.
Oh, is that how that works? It doesn't automatically capture anything. That makes sense.
Yeah. So you have to go to a web page and then literally cache it, and then the Wayback Machine has it.
Interesting.
Which is why, like, if you go to a page and then use the Wayback Machine, it'll have like specific dates and times. That's whenever somebody went to the page and cached it. So if nobody does that, something doesn't exist.
Right.
And that's like that's one like non-profit.
True. Yeah.
Attempting to preserve the entirety of the internet. And it they can't. They can't even get close. And then whenever they do try, you have companies that are as old as the dinosaurs trying to shut them down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And then here I am just like, oh yeah, let me just save all of this. I'll need this someday.
Well, I mean, that's been a thing for a very long time, is that not even just things that you purchase, but especially things that you spend money on digitally, you don't own any of it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't own any of it. You can potentially turn it into something that you own if you are able to convert it into a different format and store it on a hard drive. But other than that,
even then, it's like hard drives fail.
They do.
They fucking fail. I don't know. Maybe I'm just upset about the impermanence of everything. But
yeah, it could be. This could just be an existential crisis wrapped around like technology.
It very well could be. I don't know.
But I understand it.
It's like, yeah, it's like you go to web pages and the links are fucking dead. It's like there's 5 websites left. There's 5 services.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's either hosted on AWS or Microsoft Azure anyway. Like, what are we doing? Go find shit.
Yes.
You have whole Reddits dedicated openly to piracy, but they're really preservation.
Right.
It's like, yeah, sure, they're not paying for the content that they could be paying for. But a lot of times that's just ignoring a predatory subscription fee.
Mm-hmm.
Content that they maybe can't view in their country. Or
comics are expensive.
Viewing. Yeah. Or like viewing content that like in a format that they can actually fucking use.
Yeah, that's a big one. Because when you do that was a whole thing for a long time, when you would view something or purchase something the legal way, the normal way, it would either be an inferior quality or it would be constricted to a specific platform you could use it on. So it's
The
like
big one for that was HBO.
Yeah, HBO, absolutely, because HBO, I forget what it was. Was it their streaming platform for a very long time? Wasn't using.
So back whenever it was HBO Go, they had really terrible video compression.
That's right.
And so if you wanted to see their big budget, fantasy series in the quality that it should have been, you needed to torrent or otherwise access.
Excuse me, you had to adjust your television settings, okay?
You had to go get the Amazon version.
Right, that's right, I remember.
But then also that episode still looked like ass.
But yeah, it was not good.
Similar for like anime. Like, I pay for Crunchyroll, okay? I'll get that out of the way.
It's okay.
I do. I that's where I watch the majority of my shit because that's Crunchyroll basically has a monopoly at this point. Some people don't like the quality of Crunchyroll, whether that's the visual quality or the subtitle quality, and so they will go pirate shit.
Yeah.
Like they'll get the source files and then fan subs and shit. Sometimes they'll get it earlier. Sometimes it's they get Blu-rays and shit earlier. Like, but it's the quality's fine enough for me, where I don't see a problem with it. But like, these are the reasons why people do this shit. And then they also have copies that are theirs. So whenever Crunchyroll's weirdo esoteric licensing changes, and now one season of a show is exclusive to High Dive and the rest of the seasons are on Crunchyroll, they can watch their show whenever they want to because they have the actual files.
Yes.
Maybe it is just the impermanence of it all. I don't know. I don't have a way to wrap this up. This is just what I've been thinking about.
Well, I mean, it's interesting to think about.
It's like, well, maybe this is why I'm like going back to devices that have a single purpose, Like, I have a device specifically for writing. I have a device specifically for reading. And like that's what they're for, and I have the files literally for that.
Yeah. Well, one more point on the impermanence, like, so there was a period, and I'm sure they're still doing this, I'm probably just not paying attention as much, but Hulu was just quietly taking some of its original series off the platform. I guess because they weren't doing very well or what have you, and I'm assuming they had to pay for the rights, whatever the reason may be. This happened when I was in the middle of watching one, and so I never was able to finish it. I looked around to see if I could purchase it somewhere. Not possible. So that's just another argument for if you were to scoop it up on a piracy site, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many streaming platforms now, and these shows and movies, they just come and go without, any idea when that's going to happen. So
I'll just keep adding hard drives, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where to the physical space constraints of the case will become an issue.
Wow.
At some point. Not there yet. Like, I already had to buy a PCIe expansion card to add more drives. It will eventually be an issue. Like, it's 33 terabytes right now.
Jeez.
And I have another 8 terabytes that have to go in. It's just a pain in the ass to move a computer with 8 or so hard drives in it. So, yeah. And that's just the server. That's just a server. I don't know. Got some book stuff though. Maybe some nicer nicer stories. I don't know.
Sure.
So I did find there's a Goodreads competitor out there, and I want to get the name right because I only have the app on my phone. It's called Hardcover. So this is a Goodreads competitor that is thankfully not owned by Amazon. Doesn't seem to be owned by anybody except the app developers. And it has a UI that looks like it was made this century. And it's just a little book app for, keeping track of your reading, finding other people's recommendations and reviews and people's book lists, and all the stuff that Goodreads used to do before it sort of became like a way for publishers to extract data about what books were maybe popular, and also a way for people to harass their fellow authors and shit like that. So I thought I would mention it. And if anybody is actually a Goodreads user, you can export your books and your shelves and all that stuff and import it into hardcover, which I thought was very nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good
so
name
you don't have
too.
to start over. Yeah, yeah. And it's it's like just a free app, right? Like, I think they have some kind of, you could have some kind of subscription if you want to support them or whatever. Like, I think you get like a subscriber badge or whatever, but like, I don't think any features are locked behind anything.
It's sort of like what Letterboxd does, right? You could pay like $20 a year and you get like a cool, banner of a movie that you choose and some various statistics that you don't get access to otherwise. But otherwise, the platform is just open and free.
Yeah, very much the same thing. So yeah, I think Goodreads definitely needs to be dethroned in some capacity, at least.
Definitely.
I hate that Goodreads sort of just became this vehicle of the publishers due to its relationship with Amazon.
Yeah, I found it borderline unusable when I tried to use it over the last couple of years.
It is, and that's because Amazon hasn't touched it in like a decade. It's so decayed and archaic, and I think they actually removed the API, which is a bummer because I could have used it for some of my server stuff, but that's neither here nor there. Like it just sort of became a place where you could like either review bomb people you don't like as we discussed on whatever that story was, and like, it just became a very a toxic place, and yet it's still used as a place for metrics for success in marketing, whenever it was, again, just a place for like tracking your reading and tracking discovery in a way that was sort of condensed, because I don't know when it started, but like, 2000s and 2010s, there really wasn't a good vehicle for book discovery that wasn't something like the Amazon store algorithm, which was, now is just overrun. Like, it's actually really, I was looking at a book earlier because I wanted to compare pricing, and you just overrun with cheap, and this was, you could say it was always the case, but like just overrun with cheap romance books that are just slapped together. I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing just AI shit now. And like to being served to me, somebody that, does not purchase those kinds of books, right?
Yeah.
So like, how useful is any of this? Like, how useful is this as a recommendation engine? How useful is this as a selling tool? Like, and just Kindle Unlimited is like just broken, like you go to purchase a book and they recommend the Kindle Unlimited bullshit.
I probably mentioned this on the podcast before. My favorite place online to get book recommendations is LitHub.
Mm-hmm.
Literary Hub, because they have a section called bookmarks, which is basically like um, a review aggregate site.
Yeah.
It just shows like an overview of like what the major review sites are saying about a book, and it shows like the latest releases and the popular ones and the best reviewed books, and you just get like a nice glance at like the new stuff that's out there. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I just like to mention that because it's a very good resource. And the
Yeah.
library, obviously, like the library
Sure.
apps and websites are also very good for curation.
My library card is unfortunately out of date,
I mean, that's not a big
and
deal.
yeah, I just have to go in person. Like they won't let me renew it
Yeah,
online.
yeah.
Um, but it's weird how it keeps happening, like because I was actively using it, so
What do you mean
it's just a little
keeps
frustrating.
happening?
Like I've had to renew my library card like 2 or 3 times in the last 5 years,
Oh,
and then I'll go in and they'll be like, "Oh, what? Your card's fine, but I can't use it online to check out." Like it's yeah, it's
strange.
yeah, I know.
Now, is that the local
Um,
one or is that the?
it's the local, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay,
Yeah, the library in town. Like I'm not doing anything crazy,
yeah,
or ordering transfers or anything, like,
right.
and I don't like, you know, check out 10 ebooks at once, you know?
You're just kind of using it like a normal patron.
Well, yeah,
Well,
sort of,
sort of.
sort of, sort of. Let's just say if your library uses Adobe Digital Editions for DRM, it doesn't have to have DRM.
Well,
Let's just say that. I don't like being pressured whenever I read, okay?
I mean, I think a 3 week window is quite generous. In fact, it works as motivation for me. I flip it around, and I'm more active to keep up with a book and finish it on time.
Well, for some people it works. For me, it doesn't.
Yeah,
And again, the digital hoarding thing,
sure,
it might be a problem. I don't know.
could be.
You know what else is a problem? The book I read for review. Oh man. So I read this book in order to review it. Um, it's called Nostalgia. Fitting title, but I genuinely don't know where to begin with it. So it's a book about Ted Bundy, but not not that Ted Bundy. This author, Corey H. Spenzich. Sorry if I'm butchering that. I don't mean to. The main character is named Ted Bundy. And let me just read the beginning of my review, I guess, to make it make it as professional as possible. Nostalgia by Corey H. Spenzich. I said it that worst that time. Out May 24th from Story Influx Press. Tells the chaotic tale of Ted Bundy, not the one you have in mind. After a bizarre car accident allows him to travel through time during each bout of his newly gained narcolepsy. This is a very strange book. It's almost formatted like a Japanese light novel, in that there are some chapters that are broken up by illustration. The illustration's actually okay and kind of gives some color to what the hell's going on. I think this guy was just like so obsessed with Kurt Vonnegut
Oh boy.
that he just sort of tried to ape that style, and like wanted to write a satire but without like having a like point of purpose to it. There's just like a lot of dick jokes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm glad this was a review for your site and not a book club pick.
Yeah, no, there's no way you were going to read this
No,
book.
there's not a chance.
There are some interesting things in it.
Okay.
Like there's a couple scenes that are actually interesting where like Ted Bundy goes to like he encounters a cult and like there's like this self-help group that basically he realizes they're actually vampires because they're self-helping each other like through drinking blood. And also he's wearing a Minnesota Vikings football helmet in case he like falls asleep and he doesn't want to hit his head. So the whole time he's wearing a football helmet. There's just a lot going on. And also there's like a narrator. And the narrator like is constantly trying to throw jokes at you.
Oh.
But none of the jokes are funny.
Do you think that's intentional?
No.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. And also the narrator will just like explain jokes like as soon as they happen.
I thought maybe this was like a baby reindeer thing, which I think we're going to talk about later, where he's a comedian, but his comedy is like purposely awful.
Yeah, no, that's not what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, so the narrator is both omniscient and also like poorly defined because the narrator is talking to the reader and is also like explaining what is happening in the world of 2016
Oh no.
as if that's like some far away sort of experience and not like 8 years ago or whatever. It's just a strange package altogether. It wants to be experimental with form. Like some chapters are broken up by Ted has this friend who's basically his caretaker. His thing is that he likes to review bathrooms. So some chapters are like broken up whenever they like go to a place, they'll be broken up by that dude's review of that bathroom.
I don't mind that.
And so there's yeah, but that just is like a vehicle for a lot of like shit and piss jokes. Yeah, it's just a lot. So I try not to. The site I was doing this for does have a star system, so I had to adhere to that. But like on the site, like my site where I could cross post it, I don't have a star rating. But for their site, I did give it a star rating. According to their guidelines, I had to give it 3 out of 5. Yeah, I know. I know. Well, I was trying to be as fair as possible. And so according to their breakdown of what the star ratings mean, I had to give it 3. And so, because that basically means like it might appeal to somebody. Right. Yeah. But so they have like a chart that has a breakdown of like where most books land. And so they kind of want them all to be 3-star books. So it's like, whatever, fine. You know? Um, yeah. There are also weird references to like gaming. There are references to Sephiroth for some reason. I don't know why. The villain from Final Fantasy VII. It's just like yeah, something was just called One Winged Angel, and that's like what Sephiroth is called, and that's the name of his theme music. I was like, what the fuck is this doing here? For 2016, yeah, I just it's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, if anybody wants to read the full review, it's up on the site, denaro.media right now. Yeah. I don't quite understand the point of the Ted Bundy thing. Well, I know what it is in the context of the book, but outside of that, I don't really know what the point is. I suppose. But other than that, it doesn't really do much. Because, like, in the book, his mom named him Ted Bundy because he was born on the day that Ted Bundy was executed. Yeah. I guess, even though he's just like a guy. Yeah. Yeah. Just strange. No, no. No, his name's like Theodore Bundy, Ted Bundy. Yeah. So his mom, yeah, so his mom named him Ted. Yeah. It's crazy how that worked out for the book. The character's name happened to be Bundy already. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how that happened. I try not to be too mean, but I know it's true. Yeah. I don't know if you saw this story, but apparently books are terrible for the environment. Apparently, so are ebooks. Ebooks are also terrible for the environment. So are words. Yeah. Talking is really bad. Writing is really bad. Thought, yeah, no thinking. So this is from an NPR piece called "What's Better for the Climate: A Paper or an E-reader?" Or I'm sorry, a paper book or an e-reader. And the thrust of it is that paper books are bad because of all the trees that have to be cut down, and so that's bad, right? Never mind the rampant recycling of books that goes on, and you know all of that. Um, but reading ebooks is also bad because to manufacture an e-reader uses precious minerals, and the mining of that is also terrible. And it's like, okay, well, what do you want from me? Well, that other phone is also using precious minerals. Right, right. It's true. They have a heading here that says a complicated question to answer. Is it though? Is it? Whether it's better to read books in print or on a device is complicated because of the complex, okay, interplay of the resources involved across the entire life cycle of a published work, how books and devices are shipped, what energy they use to run, if they can be recycled. Right. Yeah. And so they actually had there's a correction here at the bottom because this is what really made me want to talk about this. This story has been corrected after an earlier version of the article stated that book publishing is the world's third largest industrial greenhouse gas emitter, when in fact it is the third largest within the pulp and paper industry. Uh huh. So even, yeah, 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 yeah. Um, yeah. So in terms of paper production, publishing is not even the highest greenhouse gas emitter. So I think it's fine. I think it's fine to read physical books. I think it's fine. Yeah. Mike Berners-Lee, the author of The Carbon Footprint of Everything, said the average e-reader has a carbon footprint of around 80 pounds. Quote, this means I've got to read about 36 small paperback books worth on it before you break even. Isn't that convenient then that an e-reader can hold a lot more than 36 paperback books? Isn't that perfect then? That you can read much more than 36 books on a modern e-reader. Yeah. Quote, if you buy an e-reader and you read loads and loads of books on it, then it's the lowest carbon thing to do. But if I buy it, read a couple of books, and decided that I prefer paperback books, then it's the worst of all worlds. This is all just very dramatic. We got celebrities in jets just dumping fuel on our heads, you know? We got fucking titans of industry. We have the AI shit, which is now utilizing, like, one data center could use as much as a whole country. Somehow crypto was the more green option when it comes to electric use compared to AI, which is insane to think about. Just useless endeavors, right? And they're going to try to come for e-reading. Insane. So I had to share that. Exactly. I was given an electronic advanced reader's copy. How else was I supposed to read that? Yeah. See? Well, paperback books generally have, yeah, thinking of a standard paperback novel, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it's definitely on us individually and the choices that we make on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Yeah. Just it is. They take the slowest path to get there. um, we're already over an hour. I do not need to talk about more e-ink shit. Um, I bought a new writing tablet. I like it. It runs Android, so I can do more stuff with it. Um, there you go. Um, yeah. Uh, just working out new workflows, and it also has a front light, which is a lot better because trying to write in the dark was a hassle. Um, yes, actually. And then one more thing while we're in Bookland, I just found another cool site called standardebooks.org. And so what's great about this site is that it's all public domain books. But the nice thing here is that they're actually formatted really nice and they have nice covers. Because you could always go to Project Gutenberg, or maybe even your library would have some public domain books and royalty free books, but they would be formatted like absolute ass, which would they basically just be like text files just transferred over to formatting on their books is very nice. Because I have grabbed Project Gutenberg books before and they've just been a chore to read without manually reformatting them myself. So yeah, standardebooks.org. Hey, it's Editor Bill coming in here real quick at the end to inform you that we are splitting the episode because we just can't shut the hell up. So the next part of the episode, which will be coming out in a couple weeks, will be the rest of our discussion with all of the movie topics that we, I guess, keep teasing for 2 episodes now. But yeah, so that'll be in the next part. And then we'll go from there. This was basically all the backlog notes that we had compiled up for whenever I couldn't record for 2 months, 3 months, whatever it was. But yeah, so I'll do my little quick outro here with some updates and stuff. Thank you for listening. We always appreciate it. Check out the show on YouTube, where I promise I'll do clips eventually. You can rate the show over on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good shit. Check out the website, denroad.media, where you can sign up for the email list. I don't spam you. You just get immediate updates whenever the show drops or whenever I post something like a review or another article. What else? Oh, check out Did It All for the Moogle, my JRPG show. I did a massive episode on Persona 3. You can use the timestamps and skip around on that because it's enormous. And then I also did a much normal episode talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and some other topics as well. And I'll have more episodes coming out very shortly because there are actually way too many games. So that should be everything. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in a couple of weeks for the Beautifl Cinema episode, basically talking about everything that came out in this past spring. So, all right, see you then.